What color is a carrot?
Carrot? I think it's a carrot. Carrot, but I don't know about carrots. I don't know nothing about that.
If you dig a 6-foot hole, how deep is that hole?
It's probably like 20 feet.
I have a weird relationship when it comes to Tim Burton and his movies. I like a lot of his work, but I'm not as in love with his style as others are. And while it's not one of my favorites of his, I do greatly enjoy the original Beetlejuice, with its bizarre tone and story that oddly works in its favor in order to create a fun experience. And now, Tim Burton has returned for the sequel, which reminds me a whole lot of another movie this year, Deadpool and Wolverine, with a story that's all over the place and doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but still manages to be a fun ride nonetheless. The structure of this movie is absolutely flawed, but it has a certain energy that elevates it to make it actually worth watching. So let's dive into Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. The story takes place years after the first, and follows Lydia Dietz from the first movie, who now has a daughter played by Jenna Ortega, who seems to be in everything now. Lydia is brought back to the original house after her father dies an oddly gruesome death. Trust me, it makes more sense when you know the background. While Lydia's daughter meets a young boy who tricks her into going to the afterlife. Meanwhile, Beetlejuice gets news of Lydia's return and continues in his attempt to marry her, all the while being hunted by a previous love. Oh, and Willem Dafoe is also there. If you couldn't tell, this movie's plot is kind of all over the place, introducing so many new characters that don't really meet their full potential, as well as starting a lot of plot points only to resolve them really quickly. The highlight of this film is by far Michael Keaton reprising his role as Beetlejuice himself, which might be the greatest reason to see this movie. In fact, it's almost like whenever this movie doesn't have Beetlejuice on screen, it actually brings down the movie a considerable amount, because the other characters aren't exactly the best. Jenna Ortega does a fine job, but her character isn't nearly as endearing as Lydia was in the original, and Lydia herself serves her purpose but doesn't really go any further. Beetlejuice is utilized very well in the film, having him appear enough to entertain the audience, but not so much that he starts to get annoying, unlike a certain other character. Beetlejuice also does a whole lot more fourth wall breaking, which he did in the original, but not nearly as much as he does here. This movie doesn't really have a clear villain. Sure, there's Beetlejuice's ex, as well as the young boy, but they both disappear as quickly as they're introduced. The comedic moments are really the saving grace of this movie. They were mostly all funny enough to get a laugh out of me, and overall the tone and world of the movie kept me entertained for the entirety of its duration. In summary, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is a deeply flawed movie, but that doesn't stop it from being a fun ride. The signature dark comedy and tone add a whole lot to the enjoyment of the movie, and Beetlejuice is a big contributing factor to how much enjoyment you're going to have, which will be different for everyone. If you're not into the type of humor that this movie offers, then you're probably not going to have as good a time with it, but I personally really enjoyed it, despite its missteps. That's all I got for now. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and hit that bell icon to be notified for whenever I make a new video. The next review should be Astrobot, so if you're interested in that, or interested in supporting the channel more, then turn on notifications and check out my other videos. Okay, that's it. Bye.